Constitution of the United States of America, with its written limitations on government and its written guarantees of human freedom, is the greatest political document ever written in the history of the world. It is the foundation of the American government, and everyone who works in the government takes an oath to preserve, protect, and defend it. The creation of the American Republic, with its written constitution and guarantees of personal freedom for the individual, is the greatest development for freedom in the history of the Western world. The reason we have a constitution is the fear the founders had of an all-powerful central government, and the fear was real. When we were colonists and the king and the parliament wanted to raise money from us, they thought of ingenious ways to do so. One of the ways that they raised money was with legislation called the Stamp Act. It required that every document that the colonists had in their homes, a book, a bank draft, a deed, a lease, a mortgage, even a pamphlet or a poster, had to have on it a stamp bearing the image of the king. Question: how did the government know that every piece of paper in one's possession bore an image of the king? Answer: the Parliament enacted the Writs of Assistance Act. This law authorized British soldiers to knock on the doors of any colonist's home and write themselves permission to enter. They could literally write their own search warrants and then enter the colonists' homes under the pretext of looking for the stamps. Of course, while there, they frequently could help themselves to property. They could consume alcohol. They could seize furniture. They could even take over the home and expel the colonists and use the home as their own living quarters for as long as they wished. This act was the last straw. We fought a revolution. We won the revolution. We wrote a constitution. In writing the Constitution, in that hot and sticky summer of 1787 in Philadelphia, delegates were sent from each of the 13 colonies. They had a great debate. The debate was over the origin of our freedoms. The James Madison and Thomas Jefferson folks argued that our freedoms come from our humanity. After all, Jefferson had just written in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This understanding of the origin of our freedoms is called the natural law, and it teaches that because we are created by God in His image and likeness, and because God is perfectly free, He created human beings as perfectly free. Thus, freedom is our birthright, so our right to live, to think as we wish, to say what we think, to publish what we say, to travel, to worship or not to worship, a right to defend ourselves from anyone, even against a tyrannical government, our right to own and enjoy property, and our right to be left alone are as natural to us as the fingers on the ends of our hands. The opposing argument in Philadelphia, which was made by the big government crowd of the day, the Alexander Hamilton and John Adams folks, was that our freedoms don't come from our humanity, they come from the government. These folks argued that without the government there can be no freedom, and the same government that gives us freedom can take it away. Because we have majority rule in this country, if the majority voted that there would be, for example, no freedom of speech, under this theory, freedom of speech would be gone. Fortunately for all of us, Jefferson's views prevailed, and the concept of natural rights, rights belonging to us by virtue of our humanity, is instilled in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights. These two documents taken together state the reasons for which the federal government came into existence, establish a president, a Congress, and a court system, each with separate and distinct responsibilities and powers. They retained certain rights for the people and for the states. Remember, in Philadelphia, it was the states that came together to create the federal government. The states gave a little bit of their powers to a new central government, and they stated just how little and just what those powers were in the magnificent document we call the Constitution. They added a Bill of Rights because they were worried that a new central government in the new capital of these United States might someday do the same thing to them that the King of England and his Parliament did to the colonists. Has this system worked as intended? Has the government followed the wishes of the framers? Has it stayed within the confines of the Constitution? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights were written for two purposes. The first was to establish and define the government, and the second was to keep the government off the people's backs. Without the Bill of Rights guaranteeing human freedom, there would have been no Constitution. And that's why everyone in government, from the founding of our country until this very day, takes an oath to uphold the Constitution and human freedom.